To introduce our next Hall of Famer, Ivan Miller, I would like to bring up a man who's a very good golfer on his own, and one of the best human beings on this earth, Mr. Harry Athens.
I too would like to congratulate all the nominees tonight.
Harry, get closer to the microphone.
This is a distinct honor for each of you. I cannot imagine a higher honor for anyone in the game of golf in the state of Iowa. My good friend for more than 50 years has been very good to me, and very good to the game in the state of Iowa. He just recently was inducted into the Iowa High School Golf Coaches Hall of Fame. He was also just recently inducted into the Grundy Center High School Hall of Fame. I guess we're going for the trifecta. Ivan was known as the Minnow King, and I want to give credit where credit is due. Mr. Jim Carney gave him that name. Ivan won more than 100 tournaments in the state of Iowa. So I would like to tell you each and every one of them. I had the distinct honor of being his partner for many years. We traveled all over the state. The very first automobile I remember us traveling in was an Oldsmobile. And the very first tournament we went to, Ivan said, "We're late, we're going to take a shortcut." The next thing I knew, we were on a gravel road. He didn't inform me that this car leaked badly. The entire cab was filled with dust. By the time we got to the tournament, we had to wipe off our equipment before we could start to play. He served for 41 years as the golf coach, the boys golf coach, in Eldora, Iowa. I had forgotten until we were reminiscing that the first 2 years, he served as the girls coach. So he had coached both boys and girls for a period of 41 years. One of the things Ivan and I would do every year in the spring, we would get the peach section from the Des Moines Register. It had a complete listing of tournaments. There would probably be anywhere from 100 to 250, maybe 400 tournaments. We would sit down and we would talk about the major tournaments. Fort Dodge, the Masters, the Hamlet. We would sit down and write checks that day, get them mailed out. You have to remember, this was during the height of Iowa golf. If you didn't get your entry fee to the Fort Dodge Hamlet by May 1st, you probably weren't going to get a slot. That's hard to imagine today. They would have 200 players at each of these events. I'm talking with John Derby tonight. He mentioned that they had 224 players who were playing the Masters and awaiting. So the competition was fierce that he faced. Ivan is a two-time Player of the Year. He won the Iowa Masters, he won the Northwest Amateur, and he won the Fort Dodge. He played against the great Tom Chapman Jr., as well as many others. The fields in those days were loaded. You didn't just walk in and win easily. It was a tough go. He is the only player in history to have been Player of the Year by both a stroke average as well as the point system. No one else has ever done that. Ivan also gave back to the game of golf, even starting back in his early years, when he would return from college, he would run a junior golf program for the kids in Grundy Center, Iowa, and provide that free of charge because the game was fairly new in Grundy Center. The course had not been there very long, and he wanted everyone to enjoy the game the way he did. We had many great times. We have stories that are going to be told yet tonight by Ivan as well as myself. I remember one year we were at the State Amateur in Cedar Falls at Beaver Hills. You would share rooms with whoever you could share with in order to cut costs. And this particular evening, we were sharing a room with Jeff and Jerry Smith, very well-known players in the state of Iowa. We got to the room, we all got in bed, we all were looking at 36 holes the next day. The lights went out, and it was dead silent. And then I heard Ivan say, Jeff, when you're in the rough, you move the ball back to your stance a little bit or a lot. He never quit thinking about the game. When I mentioned that to Jeff tonight, he also remembered that particular evening. One of the major accomplishments that Ivan always talked about was winning the best ball with his good friend George Turner. Ivan always stated that winning that best ball gave him the confidence to win the other major tournaments that he played in and won. George has been a good friend, along with John Nervy and many others in this room. I take a look around the room and I remember Mike McCoy as an 18-year-old. I remember John Brown as a 14-year-old. Jeff Smith was probably 17 years, and his brother Jerry was probably 12 or 13. It has been a wonderful ride that Ivan's had. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of what he's accomplished. And I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate him and ask him to come forward and be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Harry. Too loud? I also want to congratulate the other recipients of the Hall of Fame Award. And a special recognition also the great job that Iowa Golf Association does. And they do a wonderful job. And thanks also to Glen Oaks for a nice evening. I remember reading about the mission statement of the Iowa Golf Association, and they are truly caretakers of the game here in Iowa, which is part of their mission statement. To the Hall of Fame Committee, thank you so much. A lot of you guys I know, played with, and lots of stories. I used to practice and play with Jim Carney quite a bit, and Tim DeLong, and Jim Carney did nickname me the Drifter, because back in those days, you have to remember, a lot of there was some cheap interest rate money, so a lot of little towns built courses, and they were so proud of their courses, they wanted to have the best tournament around. So they had, you name it, they had the prizes donated. I'd go to these tournaments, I had a van, and on my golf cart, it was a golf car made in Kellogg, Iowa, one of those three-wheelers. And I'd run it up into the back of my Chevy van, and they called me also, have golf will travel. But Jim, on those little tournaments, half the time they get the town wrong. I'd be in Owine or Hampton or somewhere, and Ivan Miller from Hampton, or Ivan Miller from Webster City or whatever. You know, he said, you just drift everywhere. So yeah, he nicknamed me the Drifter. So that's the story behind that one. I thank Harry for those kind words. Harry, most of you, some of you know this, but Harry's daughter, several times state champion. She's here tonight, Christy, and she did a great job at Iowa State. And now she's giving back to the game. I can relate to this. She's the boys coach at West Delaware, has 26 boys or whatever out, and 11 or 12 never played before. I've been there, done that. But thanks for giving back to the game, Christy. That's awesome. All my friends from Eldora, I think there's about 20 that are here. That's great. I really appreciate that and the support. And then the people here that I haven't seen forever, appreciate all the warm wishes and the knuckle busters right now. If I didn't shake your hand, I've got a little sensitive skin right now, but it's great to see everybody. George, it was great to see you. We beat Tom Sr. and Tom Jr. in the finals of the Elmwood Best Ball, which is one of the top tournaments in the Midwest at that time. And it was a great victory, and we had great friendships with your. I still have a recipe from your wife, Cindy, that still is a good one at get-togethers. And then through you, I got to know the Turnbulls, the Raisleys, et cetera, et cetera. So it's been a great friendship, and I really appreciate that. Harry and I won the state two-man when it moved to Ames. I think it was called the Joe August tournament. And we won that in the regular division, and I think we won it also in the old-timers division. I looked through the list of Hall of Famers. I go back a ways, and I can tell you some of the best golfers I can remember, I've seen. I got to play with John Jacobs, and he was fairly old at that time. But boy, you talk about a game. That guy, it was unbelievable. And one of the best hands I ever saw was Joe Brown. Joe, and like I said, unless you're older, you won't understand this, but Sarge Fontanini, George, Bob Moreland, Larry Crawford. Now some of these guys I got to play with, they were the pros, because I was kind of in on the start of the Iowa Cup matches. So a lot of the, it was pros against the amateurs. And that was quite a great experience to meet the pros and play against them. And that was fun. Larry Crawford, Jack Hall, Dr. Ed Updegraff, Jack Webb, Jack Rule. There's another one. Holy moly. I played with him a few times, and that spurred me on. And he was very encouraging to me. And all these guys are, and that's one of the great things about golf. Joe August, J.D. Turner, Ken Shaw, Jeff Smith, Gene Elliott, Mike McCoy, John Lichty, Brad Shucott. Brad was way ahead of his time. And I thought, I don't know if that's fair or not, because he had a company logo on his ball that wrapped all the way around his ball. So he would line that up. Now this is years ago. Now we have lines on balls. But Brad would always line that company logo up, and he made most of the putts. Dave Sargent, Lonnie Nielsen, Tom Chapman, both of those. Eldora is about 2,700 people, and we have another Hall of Famer, Ann Griffel. She was instrumental in getting the Women's Golf Association started, and several-time senior champion. So I'm very proud that she's a part of that also. Back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, I mentioned before, all these courses were built. live in little towns, and man, did they want to put on a tournament. The food, the prizes, the volunteers, and we would go in, like Harry said, we'd go into the bulletin board, and there'd be 20, 30 tournaments that you could pick from on any day. And you had to get in early because they were all full. And this is back when they were 27 holes. So you'd play 9, you'd have to wait a couple hours, play another 9, and then wait, and then play 9 more. And a lot of times you finished in the dark. But that's the way it was, and everybody enjoyed it, and it was a little different time, that's for sure. I wish I would have had a big building to put all the prizes I wanted, because there were some doozies, I tell you that. You go to some of these tournaments, and people would donate things. I remember, I don't know how many nice jackets, you know, it'd say Pioneer Seed or DeKalb, and it wouldn't fit me. And so I would trade it to, the second and third place was golf balls. You know? So, and I won a tournament in Parkersburg, and there was a furniture store going out of business, so I think this lamp had a plastic pistol down on the base of it. And that was the first prize. But I mean, you know, chainsaws, you name it. The meat, we figured out the Bertzels, which was a golfing clan from Hampton, they also had a grocery store. So they would give away 1 pound ribeyes, and I mean lots of them. So that was known for the ribeyes. The Top of Iowa in Claremont was for Top of Iowa steaks. The Oaks, which is not there anymore, was Iowa chops. So I mean, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Harry and I won a 2-man up in Eagle Grove. It's called the Hog Wild. Well, right behind the first tee, they had a pin with straw, and they had 2 hogs. Am I right, Harry?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We named them.
Yeah, yeah. And so you could either take the hogs or have them processed. So, we never took the hogs. Another tournament, Jim Broussard here sitting in front. He was living in Grundy at the time, and we heard about a 2-man up in Strawberry Point. And it was going to be, I think, on a Wednesday. So we called up there, and well, I'm sorry, yeah, I guess we entered, but we went up there, and then we got there, and no one was around. And the guy who was mowing or in the clubhouse, he said, "Oh, you didn't hear that we tried to call everybody, tell them it's not till Saturday." So the guy says, "Well, just a second." He got an insurance man or somebody to come out and follow us around. And we just tore it up because it was the front tees and easy pins. And a couple weeks later, some people were saying, "Oh, you guys played well." They had that course set up set up. And would you play the morning or the afternoon shift? No, we didn't. Of course, we won a couple of watches. They quit working about 2 weeks later. But, you know, oh man, one of my favorite ones, all my buddies that are always trying to beat me were at Latimer. And the greens at Latimer were, you know, one was like a cowboy boot, one was a triangle, and I mean, they were very small, and on the sides, they had about a foot a slope, about like that. So it was tough. So I think it was tied. All my buddies that wanted to beat me were hanging around up on the hill by the clubhouse. And the last hole was 90 yards. And I knocked it in the hole for them. All I saw was dust flying out of the parking lot. You know, golf has been such a big part of my life. Like Gary mentioned, I came back and then taught a lot of juniors. The City Rec program, I started helping kids, and then started coaching in 1970, and battling cancer, and right now I'm doing well. or else I'd still be coaching. But getting into the Coaches Hall of Fame was very meaningful because I've really enjoyed working with the kids and growing the game. And I still, even in a wheelchair and my four-wheeler scooter and all that, I was out helping people the last couple summers when I could. But right now I'm doing pretty well. I also want to say that, golf is such a great game, and I was lucky enough to have a buddy here in the front row, Jim Brown. He's a member of the RNA, and we go to Scotland, and before we went, he said, you gotta find out about single malt scotches if you're going to Scotland. I said, okay. So we had several different ones that he didn't tell what they were. And another guy that went, Dave Akers, he's here. But we both picked the one that we thought was the best. And he said, well, that's what the women drink in Scotland. And he said, that's pretty common when you start off. So we kind of changed our palate a little bit. But Jim, being a member of the RNA, got us on Muirfield, and we had the coat and tie lunch, and I mean, we did it all. It was unbelievable. So thanks, Jim. That was, for someone that golf's been such a big part of my life, that was awesome. I'm just about done here. I got to meet so many people. When George was broadcasting the Iowa State football Cyclones, after I won one of them the Player of the Year, he invited me up and they did an interview at halftime. And that was pretty neat. Thanks. We had a junior tournament in Eldora, and a couple people knew Johnny Orr, and he started coming, and it was a Johnny Orr tournament. So I got to know Johnny. He'd call me up. He'd say, "Fire!" I said, "What, John?" "I need you, man." Okay, so he says, "Be names at whatever time," and away we'd go. And I'd be the ringer in his group on all these different fundraisers. So I'd always stay with Johnny. We'd go over to Galena Territories or wherever. And that was quite an experience, to say the least. It was great. I've got a story too. When I coach golf, sometimes I'll have the kids finish, have a nice finish, hold their pose, and then work their way backwards. Well, my wife, who passed away several years ago, when we got married, she hadn't golfed, but she was a pretty good athlete. She played tennis and so on and so forth. And I got her to plan pretty well. And when her biggest problem was not finishing through and finishing up her swing. And so one day, things weren't going the greatest. So she hit one, and I said, "Now remember how you want to finish or how you want to end up." And she threw the club down. She says, "You know how I would end up? A condo in Florida." I'm lucky enough, our son's here. He's an attorney and a judge down in Red Oak, and he plays at the Red Oak Country Club, and he's a scratch golfer. And his friend Merritt is here. My handsome brother-in-law, Merritt's here, and his lovely wife, Janet, is here. And so, thank you for coming. And again, thank you, everybody. It's been a great run, and I hope to, right now I can putt and chip, and I hope to get back on the links. So, thank you again.